Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all in good spirits to listen to some horror stories, tales of encounters with the paranormal. And if not, hope the next few minutes serve as a brief escape from whatever worries you might have out there. I promise that tonight you'll find yourself with some amazing stories in this episode, from strange encounters in a mysterious cave to apparitions in the protagonist's rooms. From road spirits who seem to follow the unlucky souls who cross their paths to a mysterious goat that walks on two legs through the mountains, frightening anyone daring enough to traverse them. Are you ready? It's time to let yourself go, to turn off the lights, and hope that you aren't the next protagonist of Grim Secrets. Hello, Carlos. I'd like to share a story that happened to me and three of my friends, Fernando, Jose, and Pablo, last year. I am from Zamora, Michoacan, where there is a place called La Beata, a site full of legends, although I had never heard of any. Thing like what happened to us. It's quite a large hill, with a huge cross at the top visible from various parts of the city. People usually hike up there at certain times of the year. Many gather to make the journey, which is somewhat long, taking approximately 6 hours to walk to the top. Once there, they camp overnight and return the next day. Our story begins on a night out with friends where, after a few beers, we started talking about trips we should take together, the kind that often remain just words and never actually happen. That was until Fernando said, "I know. Why don't we hike up to La Beata? I know an alternative route where we can make the trip in less time. I've taken it several times with my dad. Plus, it's not yet the season when people usually go, so we might be alone." We all agreed, thinking it was just one of those ideas that wouldn't go anywhere. A week later, however, Fernando messaged us in our WhatsApp group, asking when we were going to go. Truthfully, no. Any of us really wanted to do it, but we all said yes, not wanting to hurt his feelings. We decided to go one weekend, and eventually, the day arrived. We had agreed to meet at Fernando's house at 5 a.m. on Saturday to start early, so we wouldn't be exposed to the sun too much. As planned, we all showed up at his place with our backpacks full of food and water because we wouldn't be coming back down until the next day. And so, we began our hike. About 3 hours into the walk, Jose suddenly said, Wait, turn it off. I hear something." We quickly turned off the speaker we had brought, and if we listened closely, we could hear the bleating of a goat in the distance. I'm not an expert, but I know there shouldn't be any goats in that area, or shivas, as we call them here. We ignored the sound after a few seconds and continued our ascent. About 15 minutes later, Jose said again, "There's the one making the noise," and a few meters ahead of us, we spotted a large billy goat with him. Impressive horns. Pablo joked, "Let's catch it, and on the way back, we'll see if we can sell it." We all threw down our backpacks and belongings and began chasing the goat. At one point, we all got separated. Suddenly, we heard a scream from Fernando, and when we reached him, he was sitting on the ground, catching his breath. He told us, "I had caught the damn thing, but it bit me and got away." We laughed at him until he showed us his forearm where it had bitten him. It didn't look too serious, but it was bleeding a lot. We started treating his wound with what we had, and he told us that thing had an incredible amount of strength. My dad has goats, even bigger ones, but none with the strength of that one. We continued teasing him as we began looking for our backpacks, which we had dropped during the chase. We found them one by one until Fernando's backpack was found hanging high up in a tree. We asked him if he had put it there, and he replied, "No way, guys. Surely one of you hung it up there. Quit messing around and help me get it down." When we got it down, it smelled terrible, like something rotten. We assumed it was the food that he had packed, probably spoiled by the heat, and didn't think much of it. We kept going, but found a dead bird almost decaying inside Fernando's backpack. He was furious and asked who had put it there, but we all denied doing it. We just threw it away and continued our day as normally as possible, but we could still hear the distant bleating of the goat. Around 2 in the morning, we heard the bleating again, but this time it was very, very close. The sound woke us all up. Jose was the first to see it and shouted, "Now I'm not letting it get away." He began chasing it again. The goat ran too, and when Jose got very close, he lunged and grabbed it by a leg. It seemed like Jose weighed nothing as the goat dragged him several meters before he let go. We kept running after it until, I swear to you, the goat stood up on 2 legs, and he ran off like that, all while shouting, "Fernando! Fernando!" I swear it was laughing at us as it went. We were frozen in place until we looked at Fernando, who was crouched down, vomiting while crying like a small child. We could still hear the laughter fading into the distance. None of us could speak. The words wouldn't come out. When we could finally talk, we realized Pablo wasn't with us. We started looking for him and soon found him, crying with his head between his knees. He wouldn't stop crying until he told us, "I kept chasing it. I followed that thing until it spoke to me, but it spoke with my mother's voice." Pablo's mother had passed away a few months earlier. He never told us what that thing had said to him, and honestly, we don't want to know. We couldn't sleep, and as soon as it was 4:30 in the morning, we began our descent. It took much longer than usual because we could still hear the goats bleating following us. When we finally got back, Fernando's dad saw how pale we were and asked what had happened. We told him everything, all the details, and he said, "Boys, I've seen it too, but I just ignored it." When it saw I was ignoring it, it started talking to me in my father's voice, saying things only he and I would know, and it left. I couldn't take it, so I turned back. That thing, it's evil incarnate. I hadn't heard about it for years until you told me about it now. If you ever want to go up there again, be very careful of all the things wandering around. Of course, none of us ever went back up there, and it has never crossed our minds to return to that place where we had the worst experience of our lives. Well, I hope you enjoyed my story. Thank you. I'd like to send a greeting to Zamora and all of Michoacan, where the previous story took place, and ask everyone living there if they've ever experienced or heard of something similar. It is undoubtedly a macabre, but very interesting apparition. You know we're always waiting for your stories, no matter how incredible they may seem.